Small business owners who took PPP aid could be in for a surprise, and that's a big tax bill. Whenever I intro you, Robert, I always have things to talk about with you, and you always got to get right to your, you got it all written out and everything. But what about Brady? 900 plus million, I'm sorry, 900 plus thousand. But Giselle makes, I don't know, what does she make a year? He just signed for $50 million, a 2-year deal. The Lakers gave back the $4 or $5 million when they got sort of shamed into it. Is Brady going to? Well, you go ahead and do your report, but I couldn't help think of that when I saw this for his nutrition sports company or whatever it was. But this is interesting.
Yeah, there were 500 sports-related companies that got loans. It was interesting, and they may face some new taxes here. Not that it'll be a problem for Tom Brady. But remember, the CARES Act specifically made PPP loans tax-exempt for small businesses. But now the IRS has ruled that employers who had their loans forgiven could now end up with a big tax penalty. Now, this new IRS ruling states that while the forgiven loan itself will not be taxed as income, the expenses that the loan was used to pay for, like payroll, rent, and utilities, those cannot be deducted as business expenses. Now, small businesses, of course, rely heavily on those deductions to lower their taxable income. Now, an employer, let's say, who took $1 million grant could now face a tax bill at the end of the year of over $300,000. And since many have already spent that money, they don't have leftover funds, or many of them, to pay those taxes. Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle, of course, opposing this ruling. Republican Senator Chuck Grassley and Democratic Senator Ron Wyden saying if Treasury does not change the IRS ruling, they will change it in a new stimulus bill. But of course, as we've seen, that could come too late for the end of the tax year. Joe, I heard you mention that there's $288 billion in the new $908 billion compromise bill. But unless they change specifically this tax provision, I don't know that many small businesses will take this loan as a grant.
Good question. It's a good question, Robert. We'll see. The whole notion of keeping employees on the payroll, I was trying to figure out whether we should judge someone like Tom Brady for availing, or his company availing itself to what's there to try to keep everyone employed. And I don't know, we were kind of talking about it a little bit with a raised eyebrow, but if the rules are there for everyone, maybe you should take advantage because that's the way it's written. Then again, you do see people, entities like the LA Lakers, which obviously one of the richest, franchises in sports history. You just really, PR-wise, it'd be better to give it back than to benefit from the paltry amount of money that you got, probably just because of the bad reputation that you get.
Yeah, look, there's a single question here. How many jobs did they protect or maintain because of this money? And if it's the amount of jobs that's equivalent to 2.5 months of payroll, and that's where the $900,000 went, then fine. And if it's not, then you're right, he should give it back. But this was a rush program. The rules were not clear. It wasn't clear that you had to be, quote, impacted by COVID. And the rules around proving all that were very loose at the time because it was so quickly drawn. So I think it's upon him now to say, look, here's the number of people TB12 employed. Here's the jobs we protected. And if he did, fine.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.